Fans thought they'd have that Thanksgiving night Ravens-Steelers showdown to shake off that turkey coma. Think again. Let's get you to our developing story. The NFL announced today the Ravens-Steelers game, originally scheduled for Thursday night, will be moved to Sunday at 1:15 p.m. due to coronavirus concerns. The source tells our Dan Graziano that 7 Ravens players have tested positive for COVID-19 over the last 3 days, and a number of Steelers were not happy about it. They took to Twitter following the announcement. Wide receiver Chase Claypool said this, quote, "What a joke." Juju Smith-Schuster followed with, "First, the NFL takes away our bye week because another team can't get their COVID situation together. Now they take away our Thanksgiving primetime game for the same reason. Shaking my head." And tight end Eric Ebron had this to say, "I'm not going to lie. Hashtag at NFL, this is bull. You know the rest." NFL insider Dan Graziano is live on SportsCenter with more. Dan, why did the league decide to postpone this game?
Ryan, you mentioned the 7 Ravens that have tested positive so far this week. The league just decided with 2 more of those showing up today to bring that total to 7, that it needed a couple of more days to assess where things were with regard to this outbreak. My understanding is the contact tracing and the investigation that the league has undergone so far, they feel like they have a handle on how the virus got into the Ravens building. They just want to make sure, and they feel like if the testing results stop turning up positive tomorrow and Friday, that they'll have that they'll be right about that and they'll be able to move on with the game. But they didn't feel like they had given it enough time to ensure whatever it is their theory is about whether it started in the facility or somebody brought it in from outside. They just needed a few extra days, so they pushed the game back to Sunday. Those 7 players that tested positive aren't going to be able to play. And in the meantime, they're assessing the close contacts of those players. And it's possible that some of those won't be able to play if they're identified as high-risk close contacts and if their contact with the person who tested positive was too recent.
Could make for a very difficult situation for the Ravens on Sunday if they do play then. Now, we saw the reaction from some of Pittsburgh's players. So, Dan, tell us more about why the Steelers players are so upset.
Well, Juju laid it out, right? Earlier this year, they were supposed to play the Titans, and that game got postponed because of an outbreak in the Titans facility. And then it got moved to what was supposed to be Pittsburgh's bye week. Now, so they ended up having the bye week, the week the game was supposed to be able to be played, but they had already spent the week practicing, so they didn't really get a bye. Now they have a Thursday night game, so they have that sort of half bye, right, where they play Thursday and then not again until the following Sunday. So now they've lost that too. So they're playing these games without the kind of rest that they expect to get at various points during the season. And it's frustrating, and understandably so. But I just think it's important for people to remember that, A, this could happen to any team at any time. It's not necessarily because the Ravens did something wrong. And B, this season was never going to be fully fair. The league has sort of made that clear from the beginning. There are going to be things that happen that create situations that would have been unacceptable in previous years. They're doing them to make sure they can get the season played.
You know, it's what we have to live with, unfortunately, the Steelers do during this COVID-19 year. And by the way, the Steelers actually have a shot to clinch a playoff berth with a win. They also need the Raiders and the Dolphins to lose for that to happen. Dan, thanks.
Well, some COVID news in college football today. Alabama head coach Nick Saban has tested positive for COVID-19 and is showing mild symptoms. Saban will not coach Bama's Iron Bowl against Auburn this Saturday. Saban had tested positive back in October, but that turned out to be a false positive, confirmed by negative tests on 3 consecutive days. Now, this Saturday, offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian will take over the head coaching duties until Saban returns. That could be as early as December 4th against Arkansas. Here's Saban speaking today.
I was informed this morning that I had tested positive. I don't really have any cardinal signs of the virus right now. I informed the team this morning at 10 on a Zoom call. I'm the only person in the whole organization who tested positive on this, round. I'm still going to do everything possible relative to our team for Saturday's game with Auburn. We hated that this situation occurred, but as I've said many times before, you got to be able to deal with disruptions, in this year, and our players have been pretty mature about doing that. So we just want to carry on the best we can.
Do you know by any chance where you might have gotten this?
No, I have no idea. I'm around nobody. I mean, I go home and I go to the office. I have no idea how this happened. I really don't know.
Someone who knows this program very well, former Alabama quarterback Greg McElroy here with us. Now, this will be the first time ever that Nick Saban is going to miss a game since he's been at Alabama. What impact do you expect that to have on this team on Saturday as they host Auburn?
Well, the good news, I guess, if you're trying to find the silver lining, is that they had a dress rehearsal of him not being there in the week leading up to the Georgia game. Remember, he had the false positive test early in the week, so Steve Sarkisian stepped in that short-term interim role and ran practice for a vast majority of their prep leading up to that game. Then, of course, on Saturday, Saban was tested yet again, had a third straight day with a negative test, and was available to patrol the sideline later that night. So they have gone through the dress rehearsal, but I really don't think it's going to have that much of an impact. Where you might feel it most as a player is in the pregame and at the halftime speeches. If those two speeches feel a little uncomfortable, that might be something you have to deal with. But when it gets kicked off, it's all about your actual talking to your position coach and your coordinator, in which Nick Saban doesn't have a whole lot to do with either one of those two conversations.
Interesting. Okay, well, number one, Alabama still remains a heavy favorite against Auburn, but considering that Saban won't be on the sidelines and, as you said, giving those speeches, what problems do you expect that Auburn could present for this Alabama team?
Now, Auburn has some very talented players. I mean, let's not get it twisted. This is not just some run-of-the-mill team. This is the team that has given them fits in the past. This year's game, though, is going to hinder kind of on what happens with their talented running back, Tank Bigsby. He's an exceptionally gifted player, a true freshman superstar. However, last week against Tennessee, he was thrown down hard on his left hip. He had only 3 carries in the game and exited the game after his 3rd carry. We didn't see him again. So him being unavailable potentially could have a major impact on Auburn's offense. But like any game against a Nick Saban coached Alabama team, it's really going to hang on the quarterback position. Bo Nix is, of course, this talented sophomore quarterback for the Auburn Tigers. So he's not going to have to be able to just do it with his arm. He's going to have to do it with his legs, too. And if you look back over the course of time, all the way back to Johnny Manziel and Cam Newton and all the quarterbacks that have given Saban fits and have actually won games against the Crimson Tide since he's taken over 13 years ago, it's been in large part due to exceptional play at the quarterback spot. So Bo Nix has to be better than he's ever been if they're going to pull the massive upset.
All right, and a massive upset. Remember, they had one last season. Auburn beat Alabama. This is now going to be the 24th time Auburn and Alabama will both meet as ranked opponents. Greg, thanks so much.
Thanks.
And even more COVID-related news. Undefeated Cincinnati was ranked 7th in last night's first college football playoff rankings. Well, today, the Bearcats versus Temple game on Saturday has been canceled and will be declared a no contest due to both COVID-19 cases of athletes on both schools. Cincinnati and Temple both have December 5th as an open date, but protocols wouldn't allow for enough players to be available by then. This also rules out the possibility of Cincy scheduling to play 14th ranked BYU on that date as well. BYU and Cincinnati are two of the most prominent teams outside of the Power Five, hoping to make a run at the college football playoff, but BYU's chances may have been stalled after being ranked down all the way at number 14. Each of these two teams have one remaining scheduled game on December 12th. However, the Bearcats have another chance at a signature win in the AAC championship game. Now, Cincinnati currently has a 35% chance to reach the playoff. That's the 4th highest of all. you.